Hello, soulmates. Happy Friday. We have plenty to discuss on this Friday. Welcome to FOXSOUL's Black Report. I'm Nicordelai Corte.
Nicordelai, what's good, brother?
What's good, Brandon?
We made it to the end of the week,
Good to see you.
Hey.
And you got the memo.
I got the memo. Yeah. Gotta come fresh to death when I'm with you, man. So look, I am Brandon Hudson filling in for Courtney Hicks today. Look, we are following the top headlines this Friday, including the one state that is pushing for the return of firing squads and the message that minority-owned banks want you to know.
That's right. Plus the overwhelming reason why black women are denied job interviews and the famous family said to have their own show. They're the stories that impact our people the most. Our news, our views, and our voice. Topping our news today, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg rejected House Republicans' request for documents and testimony about the investigation into former President Donald Trump. Leslie Dupick, Bragg's general counsel, dismissed the congressional request as a, quote, unlawful incursion. Bragg's office revealed that the existence of a sitting grand jury currently investigating Trump. The case involves hush money payments during Trump's 2016 presidential campaign to women who allegedly he had sexual encounters with. Prosecutors canceled a scheduled grand jury session Wednesday, and law enforcement in New York has been making preparations for any unrest should Trump face charges.
Let's talk about Attorney Ben Crump, who is demanding additional mental health training for law enforcement after the senseless killing of Ervo Otieno, who was battling mental illness. Now, the call comes after a Virginia prosecutor released surveillance footage of Otieno's intake into a mental health facility. You're seeing that right here, which resulted in his death. Several Virginia officers and Central State Hospital employees have been indicted on second-degree murder charges. Crump tweeted the petition for authorities to enact extra mental health exercises, saying that more mental health training for law enforcement officers is needed, especially for people with mental illness, to avoid being brutally victimized by police. And so the conversation continues. We have another situation of another black man who is in the custody of police, and we're supposed to trust police and hospital employees to take care of our people, and then he ends up dead.
Yeah, and how does this keep happening? I mean, we know that, George Floyd died in a very similar way, right? And that was not that very long ago. And, there have been, cries for police reform and more training. But what is that training yielding us? What training has taken place since the death of George Floyd that allowed these officers to essentially do almost the same thing to this mentally ill black man?
You would hope that because we are seeing community by community kind of piecemeal a partnership with mental health workers, social workers, that maybe the government, U.S. government, can step up and say, let's make this a federal mandate. Let's begin to have our police departments, if we're going to have our monies go to them, to start becoming partners with a lot more of our social workers and social work organizations.
You're right, and we're seeing evidence of that in places like Los Angeles, where they're piloting programs to have mental health folks as first responders when there are folks with mental illness. But this is happening right in a facility, and all these calls for training, but that training doesn't seem to be working. I don't know. We got to bridge that gap.
Yeah, hopefully it happens soon.
Well, the family of Sayreville Councilwoman Eunice Dumfour, who was shot and killed in her SUV outside her house on February 1st, is demanding justice and answers about her death. Witnesses reported hearing more than 10 shots fired, and an unknown assailant approached Dumfour on foot while she was leaving her townhouse. Now, although the incident occurred over a month ago, police have not given the family any information about the investigation, and no arrests have been made. During a press conference, Dumfour's father and family members expressed their grief and called for authorities to act quickly.
Angel Pittman, a North Carolina resident, had a dream of starting a mobile hair salon by buying 3 school buses and setting up a base on a plot of land that she purchased for $10,000, but she believes that racism stopped her plan before it could begin. I want you to listen to this. Pittman says that her elderly neighbor, who is a white man, grew increasingly hostile toward her and vandalized the buses that she worked hard to save for, writing racial slurs on them and posting Confederate flags, swastikas, and KKK signs on her property. Now, Pittman contacted the Rowan County Sheriff's Office, but no action has been taken, and she was forced to move back home to Charlotte. Unfortunate turn of events there. And you hate to see that damage. You hate to see the accusations of racism for someone who is just trying to make their life better.
Yeah, and this is also what terrorism looks like in community.
Domestic terrorism.
I mean, this is, a woman that, had dreams of starting a business, had invested in that business, and, this guy, was intimidating her and her family, allegedly because she was black. And vandalizing the bus with swastikas and Confederate flags and all that stuff. I mean, that's intended to intimidate folks and, create a situation where they fear for their lives. And that's exactly the decision that she had to make. Was she going to continue to encounter this man and experience that, or, was she going to value her life and keep a healthy distance? And, that's what she felt she needed to do. But too many black folks across the country are having to make the same decision.
And here's the thing that I don't understand is if someone is doing well by being an entrepreneur in your community, that is going to attract more and more opportunities, financial opportunities to your community. It's going to boost your property value up. Like all these things are intended to be a positive. But because of someone's ignorance, it has resulted in something negative.
That's right. That's right. Well, a South Carolina barbecue chain, Maurice's Piggy Park Barbecue, which embraced the Confederate flag in 2000 and was known for its pro-segregation stance, is facing allegations of racism and sexual harassment. A black woman filed a lawsuit accusing Maurice's Piggy Park Barbecue's general manager of coercing her into a sexual relationship. Now, another black former employee also filed a lawsuit alleging that the manager left him racist voicemails. This lawsuit accuses the company of negligent supervision and the manager of intentionally inflicting emotional distress. Assault and battery. The barbecue chain's president stated that they do not condone or accept any sexual or racial behavior.
It goes to show that no matter how much you try to cover something up like racism, it's going to rear its ugly head. And this is one of those situations where I'm sure when you talk barbecue, that is one of the staples in our household. There's bringing a lot of people that are probably going to be upset, but hopefully they understand, hey, let's not give them our business.
And speaking of giving them their business, I mean, this barbecue shop has been in business for a long time, and they have had many issues of alleged bigotry that have led to their products being pulled off the shelf by Walmarts, and they've even had the Supreme Court sort of weigh in on some of the actions of this particular business. And even though the owner said what he said, the fact of the matter is he's created a culture, that's allowed, for this kind of stuff to happen at a barbecue joint, right?
And when people do that, they think they have no consequence if they follow. If the manager's doing it, I can do it too and have no consequence.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so look, Idaho lawmakers, they have passed a bill allowing for execution by firing squad for those convicted of premeditated crime. So the bill passed with a 24-11 vote and only allows firing squads when lethal injection drugs cannot be obtained or when the court deems other methods of execution unconstitutional. The Department of Correction must spend $750,000 to refurbish the equipment for the firing squad. If signed into law, Idaho will join other states that have approved the use of firing squads over the last decade. And there is a big trial, or that could be soon happening, with Brian Kohberger, the man who allegedly killed the 4 University of Idaho students, that he could be killed by firing squad. I know there was talk about that. We'll see if the law passes in time for his sentencing, but that'll be something to keep an eye on. And when you talk about firing squad, you think of like the 1800s, early 1900s, 1700s, or you just think of cartoons. To know that this is a reality is surreal.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would make Yosemite Sam blush, to say
sure.
the least. But, this is a system where we know that harsher sentences, particularly in places like Idaho, are handed down to black and brown folks, right? And so who's going to bear the brunt of this? Black and brown folks. We also know that if this bill is signed into law, Idaho won't be alone. South Carolina, Mississippi, Utah, and Oklahoma also have approved the use of firing squads over the last decade. And so, this is not just an isolated incident in Idaho. People might say, well, how many black folks are there in Idaho anyway, right? When these things are able to take root in any state, it very quickly sort of spreads across the U.S.
But the states you just mentioned all have a ugly racial past, too.
Very much so, very much so. A Louisiana man has been sentenced to 35 years in prison and chemical castration for pleading guilty to second-degree rape, molestation of a juvenile under 13, and sexual battery. He must serve the first 25 years without parole or benefits, register as a sex offender for life, and forfeit all parental rights. Injections are to begin at least 1 week before his release. Only 10 states in the U.S. have chemical castration laws, and the procedure is not FDA approved. Scholars have different opinions on whether chemical castration is an effective alternative to prison or the death penalty.
All right, so let's talk about a man who traveled to Rihanna's home unannounced in South Carolina on Thursday because he wanted to propose marriage to her. Now, he was intercepted by Rihanna's security team, and the authorities were called. Now, officers handcuffed the man, but he was not arrested because he did not break any laws. Now, the man was warned not to return to the property. This isn't the first time Rihanna has had to deal with an unwanted visit from a fan, as in 2018, a man caught occupying her home with the intention of engaging in sexual activity with the artist. Look, I know Rihanna everybody's talking about her right now. Yeah. She's got a man. I mean,
and A$AP Rocky, you don't want that smoke.
No, you
don't want that smoke. I mean, what an offense. I mean, invading on her private space.
Right.
Invading her home. Just to propose her. Like, you don't know her, man.
Right. And I always wonder.
Stay out of her house. I
always say, talk to your friends before you make a big decision like that. And this was one of those. I gotta wonder if this guy, if he had friends, and if he said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna go to Rihanna's house and propose." Like, I would hope that someone that got in his ear and was like, "Hey, man, probably not a good idea. Not a good look." But apparently nobody did.
I would hope that if he had friends, that they weren't imaginary friends.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying. Up next, Beyonce has made a surprise move, ending her partnership with a major company.
And we'll tell you what this means for Queen Bey and the future of her clothing company, all while she prepares for her upcoming tour.
Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. In February of last year, controversy broiled around Joe Rogan's racially charged language and COVID-related misinformation so much that Spotify had to get involved.
So Spotify pledged to donate $100 million for the licensing, development, and marketing of musical artists and songwriters and audio content from historically marginalized groups. But reports are showing that did not happen.
That's right. Nearly 14 months later, that $100 million Creator Equity Fund has spent less than 10% of its funding on that work. The company says that the initiative was behind schedule in hiring an 8-person staff to oversee the project and has, quotes, suffered from shifting priorities. Look, Spotify is not alone.
Right.
There are a lot of companies, especially following the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many more to name. They made these really bold commitments around advancing racial equity and racial justice. And they put a lot of money behind it. I think the Washington Post reported, something like over, $2 billion in commitments. And, a lot of them have not paid up. A lot of them have not organized that money. And so it's not just Spotify. There's a lot of people out there.
You gotta put your money where your mouth is. Mm-hmm. And, the gesture, the PR gesture is always great. But when you're not letting your actions back your words up, it's never a good look.
That's right. That's right. Well, the National Bankers Association is reassuring account holders who have concerns about the safety of their money following the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. President and CEO of the Bankers Association says that the health of minority-owned banks in the U.S. is strong and that clients should not be concerned. This comes as a new study suggests that close to 190 banks could face similar fate if just half of their depositors withdraw their cash, which many minority institutions say that they're already experiencing. They want to remind those who bank with minority-owned branches that 98% of all deposit accounts at minority banks are under $250,000, meaning they are fully FDIC insured.
Yeah, so this is, we understand that there's a lot of panic around because of what happened with Signature Bank and Silicon Valley Bank. But again, I guess you have to kind of trust the process, so to speak. When in regards to the assurances that we've gotten from President Biden and the administration about our banks being safe. But again, when you talk about people's money, people are going to be concerned and they're going to be on alert.
Yeah.
The only problem is we have not seen any positive news other than reassurances to make us believe that we're in the clear.
Yeah. And it's important to note, I mean, we're $250,000 FDIC insured, but there are calls from Capitol Hill. Senator Warren is one senator that's saying we should raise that limit to somewhere between $2 million and $10 million, in part because we know there are a lot of small businesses in our community that rely on these loans from banks to make payroll, right? And so
they're the backbone of our community,
they're the backbone of our community. And so, this is a really important conversation, not just for us as individuals and our families, but for our small businesses.
It's never too late to start a rainy day fund. You do like grandma used to do and put that money in a mattress, put it under the bed, do what you got to do, put it in a medicine cabinet, just make sure you have that money in case the wheels fall out.
That's right. Diversify your portfolio, they say.
Exactly, that too. All right, so rapper Akon and several other celebrities have agreed to pay tens of thousands of dollars to settle claims they promoted crypto investments to their millions of social media followers without disclosing that they were being paid to do so. So Akon, Neo, and Lil Yachty, all agreed to pay more than $400,000 combined in disgorgement, interest, and penalties to settle the claims. Now, none admitted or denied the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's findings as part of the settlement, but rapper Soulja Boy has not reached a settlement with the SEC. And so they're also joining celebrities like Lindsay Lohan and Jake Paul, who's a YouTube influencer and boxer. So it's tough to see so many people who are revered in our communities having to take money, and I get it. You got to get a bag and
they try to diversify their portfolio.
They were, but they got caught.
Yeah.
And so it's always tough when people who are in the spotlight like that and are setting the bar for our younger generation to get in trouble like that.
And to your point, I mean, transparency is key, right? It wasn't so much that, they were getting paid to promote this, but they weren't being honest. They allegedly were not being honest. And so, obviously this isn't a verdict, this is a settlement, right? And so maybe there was sort of a gray area there, but people have the right to know whether or not, you're getting paid to just tell me, that you're digging this product or service versus, really being into it.
Yeah, no, you just got to have transparency. I can't say it better myself.
Yeah. Well, speaking of celebrities, Beyonce and Adidas are no more. What a shame. The two have mutually agreed to part ways. According to the Wall Street Journal, Beyonce's clothing line, Ivy Park, fell below 2022 sales projections, and last year it brought in $40 million compared to $93 million in 2021. The split comes as Beyonce is about to begin her Renaissance World Tour. Hello. It also comes as Adidas is expected to suffer major losses in sales from Kanye West's Yeezy line.
Yeah, not Kanye. I should say Adidas is taking hit after hit with these two. I don't know where. I'm interested to see where Beyonce goes from here.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really seemed that Beyonce, really was fighting for creative control, right? And it seems like there were some creative differences between her and the creative execs over at Adidas. And so, if not just the Renaissance album, but, Beyonce's sort of, artistic portfolio, if that's any indication, she really puts a premium on being able to have creative control. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this also impacts the industry, right? So we mentioned Beyonce and Yeezy, but there are lots of celebrities out there that have various, sort of brand deals. And so, will this sort of shape, the way that those creative deals, are designed in the future?
Yeah, there's a lesson here. And a couple of things here. It's, stay true to yourself and protect your art.
Always.
Because when you start doing deals with companies like Adidas and, well-known brands, there's going to be some compromise. But as long as you don't compromise who you are and get lost in that, I think as long as you keep your integrity, then you're good. And Beyonce, it's crazy to think that one of the, if not the most influential artist of our generation is having to battle with Adidas over creative control. That's just mind-boggling to me.
She's won more Grammys than anybody else.
Right.
And so Adidas, I don't know if you thought you were going to win that fight.
Adidas, yeah, step your game up. No pun intended.
Please do. Coming up, are black women being unfairly judged in the workplace because of their hair?
So a survey says that 1,000 black women reveal that is true. So stay tuned. You are watching FOXSOUL's Black Report.
Welcome back to FOXSOUL's Black Report. Well, 13 years ago this week, President Barack Obama signed into law the Affordable Care Act, affectionately known as Obamacare. The landmark legislation has steadily reduced the number of uninsured black Americans over the years.
13 years. My time has flied. So the Department of Health and Human Services said in a report that last year that the uninsured rate among black Americans has decreased 40% since the ACA was implemented. However, despite the gains in creating equal access to quality and affordable health care in America, racial disparities remain, such as disparities in health outcomes and a racial gap between the number of uninsured black Americans and their white counterparts.
That's right. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, the uninsured rate for black people was almost 11% as of 2021, compared to a little over 7% for white Americans. Well, look, let's celebrate the win.
Yes.
40% of black folks are now insured in this country because it just so happens that the first black president spent a lot of political capital in order to make it happen. That's a major deal.
It was a dogfight to make this happen. This wasn't like it was a no-brainer. This took a while to make it happen. But I think what we saw in 2020 with the pandemic exposed a lot of people and exposed our community to the health challenges and the lack of equity in healthcare in our neighborhoods. I remember I was working in Philadelphia at the time, and there were a team of doctors, black doctors, the Black Doctor Consortium, COVID-19 Consortium, and they were partnering with a lot of churches and organizations in Philadelphia, using money out of their own pocket and fundraising on behalf of these organizations to provide COVID testing and then eventually COVID vaccines to a lot of our grandmothers and grandfathers and moms and dads in our communities. And a lot of that was because they couldn't get to a medical facility in their own neighborhood.
Yeah. And very similar in Inglewood. I remember being in Inglewood. This is before Obamacare. Probably before President Obama was elected. I remember being in Inglewood, and there was a sort of traveling clinic that would travel around the different communities. And in Inglewood, I think there were 8,000 people in line to get some sort of health care. So whether it was visit with a dentist or, an internal medicine doctor. And so how far we've come in 13 years, and we still have so much further to go in terms of implementation of the Affordable Care Act, because we know there are some states that have held back on fully implementing it. But, let's celebrate the win. I know there's disparities out there that we still need to address, but can you imagine if we didn't have the ACA and COVID-19 happen?
I don't think I want to.
Yeah.
So, look, for many of us in the black community, this next story shouldn't come as a surprise, but according to a survey commissioned by LinkedIn and Dove, a majority of black women say that they feel they have to change their hair just to be taken seriously for job opportunities in professional settings. Now, approximately 1,000 black women, ages 25 to 64, both part-time and full-time employees, took part in the Crown Research study. Some 66% of them said they had to change their hair for a job interview to lessen the chances of being passed over due to hair discrimination. Now, 25% of black women said they believed they were denied a job interview, just a job interview, because of their hair. So we still have a long way to go when it comes to implicit bias in the workplace. We talked about it in healthcare. This is talking about in the workplace. I know that you and Courtney, you all had this discussion before, but we're seeing times change where we see women in our profession at the desk in braids, but in other workplaces, there's still a long way to go.
That's right. That's right. And we were talking about this earlier. I mean, we remember a time, in school, especially in journalism school, where you could not rock a beard. It was considered unprofessional, right?
And in some cases threatening too.
Right? And at your best, you could have a mustache, but you couldn't have a full beard. And so, this is also a part of this natural hair movement, right? Yeah. It's to think that you may be shut out of an employment opportunity, let alone any opportunity, just because of how you wear your hair, right? I mean, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And anybody that says that's right, they need to come here to the FOXSOUL Black Report and make the case. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yes. Well, data from the American Library Association shows that book bans in school and public libraries reached a record high in the United States last year. Huffington Post reports that over 1,200 challenges were put together by the ALA in 2022, almost double the recorded record in 2021. Now, bills supporting book bans have been proposed or passed in several states, including Florida, surprise, surprise, Arizona, Iowa, Texas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Now, books on the chopping block cover several topics, including Angie Thomas's The Hate You Give, the 1619 Project, the Pulitzer Prize winning report from the New York Times on the legacy of slavery in the United States, and the late legendary novelist, one of my favorites, Toni Morrison's Beloved.
So it is insane that we live in a country where it is easier to ban books, but there is a challenge and a struggle to ban guns in terms of getting them in the hands of people who should not have them to begin with. So it's an interesting dynamic.
It is very much so, and in case folks didn't notice, I think we've just got to say the quiet part out loud here.
Yeah.
That book bans are not normal.
Right.
They're not normal. And for the folks out there, they're trying to act like this is normal. When you study, book bans that have happened in other countries, it's usually followed by not so good stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so we've got to take this stuff seriously, and we've got to push back against it. I mean, knowledge is power, and when people attempt to erase our identity, to erase our contributions to America, then they are attempting to take our power, and we can't let that happen.
All right, so OWN, Oprah's network, is set to air a new documentary series from Essence magazine that looks at Black America over the past 50 years. It should be interesting here. The 5-part series, Time of Essence, will explore a different decade from 1970s through today and show how the magazine has informed and reflected Black culture through firsthand commentary from the icons, trailblazers, Essence staffers, and leaders who lived and defined them, said the network. The documentary will feature such celebrities as Regina Hall, Halle Berry, Whoopi Goldberg, Taye Diggs, Sheryl Lee Ralph, as well as longtime Essence editor and chief Susan L. Taylor and current Essence magazine editor Mickey Taylor. So this should be very interesting. It is hard to believe that when we talk about 50 years ago, it is the 1970s But I can remember a time where I go to a loved one's house and there's an Essence magazine that is right there on the coffee table. You pick it up and you read it. So it'll be very interesting to see on TV the interviews, especially, I mean, Shirley Ralph.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people that you want to hear from. To see and hear their stories and how this magazine has really changed and influenced Black culture.
You're right. I mean, Essence, Ebony, Jet. You know, I
Yep.
remember all those being on the coffee table.
Yep.
You know, as a kid, and you know, it's important that we tell our story, right? And this has been a really trusted publication, a trusted mode of communicating our stories, of offering our views and our voice on a whole range of issues. And I like to think that, you know, we are a better people because, you know, Essence has created a platform for those stories to be shared.
I'd like to think that Essence Magazine had a hand in getting a lot of our community to just read.
Yeah.
And read about what's going on in their neighborhood.
Yep. All right, today for Women's Her Story Month, we honor Susan L. Taylor. Susan L. Taylor is, of course, the former chief editor of Essence Magazine, and she served as editor-in-chief of Essence through 1981, from 1981 through 2000.
Yeah, so 1994. American Libraries referred to Taylor as the most influential Black woman in journalism today. So for more than 20 years, Susan Taylor personified the spirit of Essence Magazine. She shared her thoughts and life with millions of readers each month in her column, In the Spirit.
And she was also one of the driving forces behind the creation of Essence Festival. After more than 2 decades as chief editor of Essence Magazine, Susan Taylor left publishing to build National Care's mentoring movement, an organization devoted to breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty among African Americans. We salute this sister. She has just been contributing to our community time and time and time again.
And it shows you don't even have to be in a movie or a TV show or, you know, play a sport to have such a big impact in our community. And, you know, for a lot of people, Susan Taylor probably wasn't a household name, but after hearing her accomplishments, you were very familiar with her work. And we appreciate you for that.
We sure do.
All right, so still ahead, Lizzo gets dismissed, but this is not what you think.
That's right, we'll tell you why Lizzo got all dressed up but had nowhere to go when we return. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report. Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Well, time now for our celebrity and entertainment headlines.
So here's the deal. On Fridays, we like to have a little more fun with these stories. So here to join in on our conversation, it's a very funny, very talented Melanie Camacho. Melanie, welcome. How are you today?
How you doing?
Hey, look,
Hey,
it is
how y'all doing?
Hey, we're good. We're good. It's always better when we're talking with you. So it's an honor for you to be here. Let's get into our headlines here. You ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go.
Well, CeeLo Green made a grand entrance at Shawty Lowe's birthday celebration in Atlanta.
But this was short-lived because he ended up falling here. So this week, the family of the late rapper, Shawty Lowe, held a celebration at the Bank Event Center in Atlanta on what would have been the rapper's 47th birthday. CeeLo Green attended the all-black event, turned heads, and then he entered the building on the back of a horse, but the horse was not feeling this one at all. You probably know how this is going to end. So the horse started moving around erratically, sending CeeLo to the ground. I mean, props for CeeLo for trying to do this, but somebody should have told the horse,
Yikes.
Hey, you might want to have me not look so bad.
Well, let me tell you, CeeLo popped right on up, didn't he?
Yeah, somebody get Mr. Ed here.
Melody, what say you?
Hey, I say that horse was like, who put this info on my back? Off of me. Get him off. Oh man, CeeLo had some spring in his step. He jumped up real quick. Oh, we already saw it.
Yeah, he tried to play it off, but it didn't go so well.
He did.
Not at all.
Listen, nothing a little icy hot can't cure.
Hey, it made for a great conversation starter, though.
Put him back in the spotlight is what it did.
Yeah, literally. All right, so
He's
look.
trending now.
He sure is. He's trending, and he's probably resting too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to take this Friday off. Get back on the horse on
Correct.
Saturday.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so look, Lizzo, she is known as one of the biggest musicians out right now. Apparently, when it comes to jury duty, though, she's no different than the rest of us.
This week, the About Damn Time singer took her social media followers along as she prepared for jury duty. She woke up at 6 a.m., all excited to fulfill her civil duty, got dressed up, showed her followers how she prepared for the day, all to post a new video shortly later telling her fans about her dismissal, saying that she wonders why she was released.
I mean, I've done jury duty. I'm sure you probably have. Melanie, I'm sure you have as well. You never done jury duty?
Don't tell him.
Okay, all right. Well, Melanie, I don't know. Have you done jury duty before?
Of course I have.
Yeah, so we've done jury duty.
License.
Yeah, so we know, that it comes with the territory. Like, you're going to hope that you get released, but if you got to stay, you got to stay. But in this case, I'm glad that she was looking fly, and she was looking great doing it. And hey, she didn't have to do it. So there you go. It's a win.
Hey, she would have been a distraction. I mean, come on, it's Lizzo.
I think Nicola was saying during the break, can you imagine if you're an attorney and you you see Lizzo's name on there and you're like, are you going to talk about the case or are you going to talk about everything else that Lizzo, the fabulousness of Lizzo?
Correct. They're not even trying to have Lizzo on no show. And you say she's one of the biggest entertainers right now. Yeah, literally as well.
Right.
She's a big girl, and she's definitely beautiful and a distraction. Nobody's going to be trying to hear the court case. Everybody's going to be trying to get autographs and selfies if Lizzo is on the jury duty. Come on.
They're going to be hoping for a concert at some point. After the jury reaches a verdict, they're going to be hoping Lizzo does a concert.
At least,
yeah.
Right.
I think she might be doing a concert during that deliberation.
And she probably will.
Or have a potluck or something, right?
Oh, Lord.
Maybe she'll feed us.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, Sean Diddy Combs is making a return to reality TV, and it's not making the band.
All right, so the hip-hop icon and business mogul is reportedly in discussions with Hulu for a show featuring his family. It would feature Combs and his 7 kids and is tentatively called Diddy Plus 7.
That's right. A source at Page 6 says it would feature all their business adventures, similar to the Kardashians, as his kids are successful entrepreneurs. Sources say that they've already been spotted filming the show in Los Angeles and Miami. Ain't he busy? Ain't he trying to buy BET?
Hey, the hustle never stops.
He's trying to buy BET, get a Hulu show. What is it what else is Diddy trying to do?
Trying to make money.
He trying to own the world. That's
right.
what he's trying to. I am not mad. He's trying to catch up to Jay-Z. He's like, look, I need to be a billionaire as well. I ain't mad at you, P. Diddy, but you better be careful with that live entertainment talking about your family, because they bringing up all the dirt. You know that.
Oh, 100%. Melanie, would you watch the show?
I probably might check it out the first couple of episodes just to see what it was about, but I'm not really into reality TV because it's not really reality.
Oh.
So probably not.
Oh.
I got you.
What about you?
Yeah, I would watch it probably until I got tired of it. Probably at the end of that first season. I just want to see what everybody's talking about, and then I can get back on with my life.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's it. I want to see what P. Diddy is talking about now, because he's always talking about something. So let's see. I hope he talks about some of his relationships during that show.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Is there a particular relationship you want him to talk about?
Oh, all of them. I want to hear about every single one. The one where you and your son was dating the same girl. I would really like to hear about that one.
That might be too messy for Hulu. We might have to find another streaming service for that one. All right, so look, it is the Battle of the Comedians. Dave Chappelle finally breaks his silence on the infamous beef with Cat Williams.
That's right, but we find out that the two comedian icons never technically had any beef. Take a listen.
What happened was, I tried to sign up on Twitter, And I put my name in and said, this name is already in use. You can't use celebrity names. I'm like, it's odd. So I went to see who was using it, and it was a fake Dave Chappelle. And I thought, I got to put a stop to this. But then I started reading the tweets, and they were hilarious. Every morning I wake up and get some coffee and just check in on Twitter and see what this fake Dave Chappelle fellow was up to. Funny stuff every morning, but then he goes rogue. He starts attacking celebrities that are friends of mine, and of all these celebrities, Cat Williams. Well, Cat Williams wasn't having that. So Cat and fake Dave Chappelle started going in on it. And the problem was that Cat Williams was saying things to fake Dave Chappelle that was hurting real Dave Chappelle's feelings.
Here's the asterisk of the story.
Right. I catch up with Cat in L.A. Do you remember this? And I'm like, Cat, can I talk to you for a second? He's like, of course. And I go, away from Shook. and then me and Cat walk off in the corner. I go, look, I just want you to know, I've never had a Twitter account. Cat's like, so what? I've never had a Twitter account either. I said, what? I was like, what?
I still don't have a Twitter account.
It turns out it was a fake Dave Chappelle and a fake Cat Williams. But Cat's fake was funnier than my fake.
They were great. They're great fakes.
That's a real story.
You're the best storyteller.
That's great stuff right there.
I guess we all can get catfished.
I know. Yeah. Hey,
Man, that clickbait will get you every time, won't it?
It will.
Clickbait.
That's why you can't trust reality TV and you cannot trust Twitter.
No, because neither one of them had a Twitter. Those were two, not even about to start a war with two fake people. That's just ridiculous.
And everybody else is going to eat it up.
I think they should verify those accounts. Elon Musk, what you doing over there? Verify, make sure these people, when I get locked out my Instagram, I got to send y'all driver's license, social security, and every damn thing. Why didn't y'all do that with Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams? That's all I want to know.
Hey, in this country,
how did you just sign up?
Hey, in this country, it's easier to get a gun than it is to get your Instagram back.
Okay.
Or get your Twitter verified.
Yeah, that is true.
Correct. Looks like it is, man.
So now, Melanie, I know that there's another story that's making headlines about two prison inmates who used toothbrushes to dig a hole out of jail and was caught at a local IHOP in Virginia. Tell us, what are your thoughts?
I say that food got to be some kind of terrible for them to break out with toothbrushes just so they can go to IHOP. I'm going to risk everything, but I'm going to give me some pancakes. I hope you got all the works on them pancakes too. I hope you got some meat with it. Unbelievable. And they was like, can we get a to-go plate when they got caught? They were trying to take something back with them.
I just wonder, well, how did they pay for it? Because if they had to dig themselves out of the jail, I don't think they got any money.
Maybe they were hoping they would get caught so they wouldn't have to pay for it. You eat, you get
or
caught.
maybe somebody sent them a cash app or a Zelle.
Hey, it could have been a sugar mama.
Look, that Cash App and Zelle ministry, that's something serious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They probably got hooked up. All you got to do is tell a sob story, and they start cash apping you left and right. So they probably was like, they telling us the nastiest food ever, roaches all in it. We just want some IHOP. Could somebody please? And people were sending $20 left and right. I sent them 10. I ain't gonna even lie.
All right, Melanie. Well, we thank you for adding some funny to the headlines today. But tell us, what's new? Is there anything that you're working on that you want to share?
Well, sure. I have a movie right now on Tubi TV called Boosters LA. I got the funniest comics in LA in it. Everybody, Tiffany Haddish, Earthquake, Brumman from the Fifth Floor. There's Michelet performs. The list goes. John Witherspoon. This is John Witherspoon and A.J. Johnson's last film ever. And another one of the castmates, Boogie B, was recently killed in New Orleans. He's also in the film. It's a funny film. It's telling a story about boosting in LA. So you guys go watch it, get your laugh on. Check me out this weekend in DC at the Bowie Theater for the Women Empowerment Month. And we're going to have a good time.
Hey, that's good.
Saturday night in DC, you guys. Come see me.
All right. Okay, DC Soulmates, you know what to do. You know what to do.
Hey, before we let you go, Melanie, look, for all the aspiring comedians out there, you've been around for a couple decades plus. How do you keep evolving over the years?
Well, you just keep writing. Stay true to yourself. Keep writing, because right now, man, with the internet and these Instagram and social media comedians, it has totally changed the game for us OGs. So you just got to keep writing and keep grinding. Don't give up. I won't give up. I'm going to keep working as long as I'm going to do stand up until I can't stand up. Put it like that.
That's all right. That's all right with us. A big thanks to Melanie Camacho, actress and comedian. Don't forget to check her out in DC Soulmates. Thanks again, Melanie, and come back again soon. Your official soulmate.
Thank you. Happy weekend, you guys.
Hey, enjoy it.
And did I say y'all fine? Did I say that?
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Y'all looking good over there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, it's our favorite segment, Black Excellence.
Yeah, so we're going to tell you all about a new project that Questlove has been making that will benefit tons of Black authors.
Welcome back to FOXSOUL's Black Report. Time now for Black Excellence, and we're talking about Questlove.
Yes, a longtime frontman of The Roots recently announced that he is starting his own publishing company. Titles have already been announced for later this year, including the first memoir from the legendary funk musician Sly and the Family Stone.
Yeah, other books planned include Handbook for the Revolution, the essential guide for workplace organizing by Amazon labor union activist Derek Palmer, and Hip Hop is History, a chronology of hip hop's first 50 years, co-written by Questlove and Green Man.
It is good to see Questlove doing his thing. To go from a dude who grew up in Philly to The Roots, to The Tonight Show, to having his own vegan cheesesteak, and to now having his own publishing company. Well done, sir.
This is great. And this is, I think, part of the legacy of hip hop.
Yeah.
It's entrepreneurship, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's not a coincidence that you see folks like Questlove and like Jay-Z, and we've talked about P. Diddy and so many folks out there, Queen Latifah, that have very diverse portfolios,
right?
Multiple streams of income. But if you look at their art, it shows up in so many different ways, right? And what I think the lesson that I glean from this is that don't limit your art. Your art can be expressed in so many different ways. And so, how fun is it that, we get to pick up a book with an imprint made possible by Questlove?
It's always the best advice that I heard is stay fluid. So never, try to pigeonhole yourself. So just keep staying fluid and keep trying to diversify who you are and what you do. It is amazing that in this day and age that Oreo commercials have hypnotized from Notorious B.I.G. When Hypnotize came out, you wouldn't see big name brands associated with Notorious B.I.G. or hip hop for that matter. And my, how times have changed. I mean, Kroger does a commercial with Flo Rida's Low. Never would I have imagined that we would be seeing hip hop having the influence, the mainstream influence that we have. So, as a hip hop listener, I'm amazed. I'm in awe.
Yeah, I mean, and I've just got to say this, think about like Snoop Dogg and his wine line, right? Really making waves in the wine industry. And so what's also so extraordinary is there's so many different industries where, these hip hop artists, are quickly becoming industry leaders right before our very eyes.
I think it may be telling that, when we talk about who's the greatest rapper of all time.
Yeah.
Maybe we just don't talk about the lyricism or the number of albums or Grammys. Maybe we just talk about their mainstream influence that has evolved over the years. The getting into with Queen Latifah, winning awards for acting, for stuff she didn't even start out doing, that she just crossed over into, for building an empire. Maybe that needs to fall into some sort of category when we talk about greatest rappers of all time.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also what makes Questlove's imprint so great is it's also an act of resistance. You know, we were just talking earlier in the show about, these book bans, a record number of books, some classic books that we remember reading in school and that we might even still really love and enjoy today. A lot of those books not being passed to the next generation because they're getting caught up in these book bans. And so what a powerful act of resistance for Questlove, to be in the position to publish Black authors. We know very well how much Black authors matter. Well, guess what? Questlove is showing us that Black publishers also matter.
Exactly, 100%.
Well, now for the full rundown on today's stories and more, you can access FOXSOUL's video on demand on any of our partners. You can even access past shows and other Black-centered content. And by the way, don't forget to download the FOXSOUL app. It's free, y'all. Pass it on. It has been a joy to sit here with you and wrap up the week here with you.
Hey, pleasure's all mine, Questlove. I appreciate the hospitality, and thank you for always opening your door to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we do here in Detroit. I also want to encourage everybody to keep our colleague Courtney Hicks in prayer as she is handling some business here in Detroit with her family. We are thinking of you, my dear, and we will see you again next week. I'm the Questlove Quartet.
I'm Brandon Hudson, here for Courtney Hicks.
And until next time, soulmates, stay lifted and have a good weekend.